I woke up this morning to a story about how 4,500 Zama Zamas in the Northwest are trapped and they're struggling to get food and other resources as well. And I found myself just rehashing some of the conversations that I've had, some of the research that I've done. I've got some articles here and I'm trying to not read all of them, but I'm gonna go through some of them because this is very important for me. I'm disturbed by the conversations around the Zama Zama, and I find a lot of people don't really understand what's going on there or have any perspective on that. This is from enca.com from this morning, 7:15. How should authorities deal with Zama Zamas? Around 4,500 illegal miners remain underground in Glasgow. Police and soldiers cut off food and water supply to force them out. So far, over 8,000 have resurfaced and have been arrested. It's been reported that those remaining are weak and in deteriorating health. Now, let me stop there. This is where now human rights becomes one of those catch-22s. We believe in human rights. We have a Bill of Rights. We have the Constitution. We have the United Nations. The police and soldiers have cut off food and water for human beings. And the fact that they're weak and in deteriorating health is a human rights violation. We can deal with the crime later, but this is a human rights violation, and I need people to understand that. This is not to say they mustn't force them out. These guys must come out. This morning on the SA, okay, no, this is not important. This is not important. Okay, let me go to the next article. That one's nice and short. Let me see. I think there's another ENCA one that's also nice and short. This one is from the 4th of November 2024, which was last week, I believe. Zama Zamas continue emerging from Stilfontein shaft. More illegal miners continue to surface from an abandoned shaft in Glasgow in the northwest. It follows a Valamkoti operation that stopped their supply of food. Almost 600 have already resurfaced and have been arrested. Several of them will appear in court on Monday morning. Police and soldiers are monitoring all exit points that extend to Orkney and Stilfontein. They believe some of the Zama Zamas have been underground for over a year. Pause. Underground for over a year. This is enca.com. I sat with Siabulela Nganga. Siabulela is a mining engineer. He's worked for various mines. Some of them include Patrice's mines. He's worked for a mining services company called Mumans. He's currently mining in Mozambique for an Indian family there. He's mined in West Africa, in Guinea. He's mined in Tanzania. Brilliant gent, brilliant mind, an entrepreneur, a hustler. He calls himself a trapper. He's owned a record label at some point. He does logistics. He's from Sterkspruit in the Eastern Cape. Moved to Joburg, lived in the shacks of what's this place, man? I wanted to say Tsanin. Tsakane. Tsakane in Egoruleni. Lived in shacks there, pushed himself. We've spoken about his life. He's written 2 amazing books that have gone on to be bestsellers on Take a Lot. So Usia and I spoke. We've sat a couple of times on my platforms, but he was speaking about Zama Zamas as someone who is in the mining industry. And he was saying, some of these guys stay there for over a year. I was like, no ways, bro. For over a year. And here, enca.com, mainstream media that people deem credible, states they believe some of the Zama Zamas have been underground for over a year. The people sleep there. The people eat there. There are people that run businesses there. Cigarettes, food, all of those things are expensive down there. Let's find another one. Freyeweekblad.com. Organized crimes, Zama Zama move from gold to grain. Piet Krookamp is not easily shocked anymore, but suggestions that rogue, jobless mine workers are being used in the grain theft value chain leaves him burning with resentment over the inept South African government and our useless police. This is from the 8th of November 2024, and the article was written by Piet Krookamp. A week or so ago, Ali van Wyk wrote a wonderful piece for Freyeweekblad. Let's go for a ride. South Africa's growing kidnapping plague. His account covers the morbid reality. of mutating crime phenomena in which the same syndicates and cartels migrate between different types of crime for various reasons. This past year, I happened to spend a lot of time with forensic legal professionals and investigators in the government, financial institutions, and the private sector. A few days ago, I wandered into a forensic investigator's office. He is small in stature and seemingly harmless, but I know him. His mind is brewing even when he sleeps. He's a member of a human subspecies with a clinical mindset and a much-needed dash of paranoid instinct for strange patterns. Without such people, crime will wreak havoc like a free-range beast. Unfortunately, such people come to the scene when the crime already has consequences for you and me. Put another way, if the state's intelligence structures are unable to prevent something and the police do not have the capacity to know better, forensics come into play after the fact. They concern themselves with what has happened, not what will happen. That is the job of our useless national intelligence and incompetent police. This is where it's more important. I'm going to skim read just to find the meat of this. This guy asks, have you heard the Zama Zamas are suspected of involvement in organized grain theft? Carry on. Given my intimate understanding of the challenging world of agriculturalists, the idea of Zama Zamas shifting their paramilitary corporate culture from mining to farming fills me with burning resentment towards South Africa's inept government and the hopeless and helpless SAPS. Some background: the term Zama Zamas comes from isiZulu for those who are trying their luck. By Zama, they are trying. Significant number are South Africans, very important. Many of them are South Africans, but most are miners from Lesotho, from Malawi, from Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, neighboring countries characterized by poverty and an acute scarcity of economic opportunity. The near collapse of employment in the South African mining industry inevitably prompts many to get involved in illegal activities. I want to highlight that there are people that get retrenched that are in mining, that drill and blast. And when they get retrenched, these guys know what's down there. They know how the mine shafts work. They go, many of them, and become Zama Zamas themselves. Whether they go down or they become intelligence for the guys, or they become bosses in some instances. It's important to distinguish between the repressive labor that Zama Zamas do and the organized network of the cartels and syndicates that abuse them to commit economic crimes. So when I or the forensic investigator say the Zama Zamas are involved in grain robbery, we are actually saying that the crime syndicates involved in the mining industry have shifted their interests to the logistical value chain of the grain industry. The armed Zama Zamas only carry out the orders of syndicate leaders, quite possibly for wages that do not justify the personal risk. The fact that the Ramaphosa government is currently targeting the Zama Zamas' support structures and food supplies in an attempt to make their living conditions unsustainable in their illegal mines increases the risk to such an extent that the syndicate leaders are looking for other equally vulnerable industries. I'm not going to carry on here. I'm going to stop there. I want to read maybe one or two. Let me read this one. I travel with an amazing lady, Lorenza. I think at the time she may have been filming for GakeNet. I may be wrong. I traveled with her to Russia to cover a Russia-Africa forum or conference last year in St. Petersburg. She's done an amazing piece with Carte Blanche, detailing some of the Zama Zamas, the illegal mining happening around Johannesburg. One of the things they speak about there is that in an area of 100 kilometers, by 100 kilometers, there are 75,000 illegal miners there in the Highveld. Highveld being the Johannesburg area, what people know as the Transvaal. 75,000, you heard me correctly, 75,000 illegal miners / Zama Zamas. We're speaking about Klerksdorp in the northwest. This is not now the Highveld. This is not now Johannesburg area. This is in Klerksdorp, where we're speaking in the northwest of 4,500 that are down, of which 1,000 have come up. Now, another lady, Carte Blanche, I apologize, I don't remember her name. It might be Ukekana, her surname, but I apologize if I'm butchering. She also did a recent Carte Blanche piece on Mpumalanga, Pilgrim's Rest, Barberton, where there's Zama Zamas there as well in Mpumalanga. And they go into some of the shafts there and they speak to some of the people there. And one of the guys says there that in 2 weeks he makes 20,000. I spoke to some friends this morning because of this story. And some of those friends were saying, no, man, they have family members that live in Mpumalanga. They've got family members in the Northwest. And they say some of these guys, they'll beat down for 6 months and they'll come back with R1 million. In 6 months, R1 million. They go back home, they build amazing homes, they buy cars, they get married, they send money to their families, etc. R1 million in 6 months. This guy was saying in 2 weeks he makes 20,000. Those are the guys earning wages. But he says the big bosses make so much more. iol.co.za. In case you missed it, you can make roughly 20 million rand a month, says a Zama Zama gang boss. Written by Colonial, published in December of 2023. South Africa's dire unemployment levels have left millions of people living in poverty and doing anything necessary in order to survive and support their families. For example, in locations with abandoned mines, Zama Zamas or illicit miners sift for gold to sell on the black market. Once the world's biggest producer of gold, South Africa has more than 6,000 abandoned mines. 6,000. We spoke about 75,000 Zama Zamas in the Highveld. We spoke about 4,500, 5,500 in Klerksdorp. We speak about thousands of miners in Mpumalanga and the Lowveld. 6,000 abandoned mines. And that's just gold. That's opportunity. These mines make for fertile ground for Zama Zamas to try their luck. Additionally, alleged turf wars often erupt between several Zama Zama gangs for control of the former mining areas. Again, this is not surprising. Territory, drugs, the cartels, the taxi routes. This happens even in terms of the media. The media will bash other media. It'll happen in pharmaceuticals. It'll happen in banking. It'll happen even in legal, formalized, big mining. The world is a fucking jungle and everyone fights for their territory. In a Vice is a channel on YouTube. In a Vice mini documentary about illegal mining, one Zama Zama boss whose identity was withheld was quoted as saying, "This is a business. This is a game. There's nothing you can do. If somebody plays in your territory, you need to fix him up. You need to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's blood money. There's a group of 5 of us who are the big bosses. We can make roughly 20 million rand and we share it among ourselves." The Zama Zama top dog told Vice that the process worked as smoothly as a well-oiled machine when it comes to bribing corrupt police officers to stay off their tails. "In our scheme, we take out around 15,000 rand a month. They are on our payroll, those cops." Thabang Mbote, an artisanal miner, also spoke to the media company about the conditions of his work above ground. He said that sometimes he can work for a week or even a month without getting nothing. "I don't see myself as a Zama Zama. That word does not sit well with me at all. I'm scared of these people," he told Vice. Let's see here. Let's go down, go down, go down. Nothing important here. Let me go to the last one. This one's probably long, but I'm not going to read all of it. dailymaverick.co.za. From November 2024. Hundreds of illegal miners arrested after underground food and water supplies cut. Written by Ed Stoddard. The Zama Zamas who surfaced at Orkney over the weekend are the small fish in this big pond of criminality. The big fish have yet to be landed in the net. At least 565 illegal gold miners, Zama Zamas, were arrested at the weekend in the northwest town of Orkney after the police choked off their food and water supplies, forcing them to the surface. The arrests were the latest made under Operation Vula Umkoti, which seeks to disrupt illegal mining at a time when companies like Spaza and Stillwater have recorded a spike in such activities, including direct attacks on mine operations and infrastructure against the backdrop of record gold prices. Vala Umkoti is a Nguni term and isiZulu term to say close the hole. See here, not important. Zama Zama was resurfacing as a result of starvation and dehydration. Again, human rights. Of course, human rights only apply when we feel like it. Block communities, abandoned mine shafts. Okay. According to the mining industry, one of the signs, migrant. Okay, no, I'll stop reading here. I went to a place in Springs, I think the year before last year, if I'm not mistaken, called Plastic City. It's a squatter camp. It's an informal settlement. When you walk through it, you hear a lot of people speaking Portuguese. You hear some of the Portuguese music, and you realize these guys are probably from Mozambique, if not Angola, living in filthy spaces I was going there because I was working with an ANC ward councillor there to go and give food packs to the people there. I do charity work every now and then. So the people of Plastic City were hungry and some other people, then we were going to do charity work. After we walked through Plastic City, we crossed the road and we went and found these ditches. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And it was like, oh no, these are the holes of the Zama Zamas. This is where the gents go in and come out. I'm like, it looks like bombs have been hitting this place. It looks like it's been hit by terrorism or there's a civil war. I contrast that to a place where a cousin of mine stays, a squatter camp informal settlement called Warasta, Primrose in Germiston, where we were walking through the squatter camp. I was going to visit my cousin. We were just chilling, walking around, and I just see these guys covered in dust. And he's like, oh, no, Zama Zama. I'm like, these guys are here. They're like, Lamachita always coming in and out. He's like, but it takes long for these guys to come out. Umchita goes down, comes back after a few weeks, comes back after a few months. I was like, that doesn't make sense in my head. He's like, no. But they rest, some of them they continue, and then they go home. You contrast that to a place where I just recently went past. Just outside of Johannesburg, there's an area called Wemapan. If you're driving close to Abo City Deep, down Moy Street in the Joburg CBD, and then there's roads that have been closed there. Sometimes the police like stopping there. The roads have been closed because they've been damaged and destroyed by Zama Zama. There were rumors that on Brie, which has not been fixed, by the way, by your government, this bullshit government we have, this bullshit municipal government we have in Johannesburg, which has had so many mayors come in and out. Brie has not been fixed since there was an explosion, which they said was gas. Some people suspected Zama Zamas were busy with something, and there were issues there. This is what we're living with. It's real. It's not a movie. This ain't a movie, homie. So Siabulela Ngang is one of the guys I'd speak to. He has some intel as being someone in mining. Some of the guys I spoke to know people that either are Zama Zamas themselves or know Zama Zamas. I'd speak to Rutendo Matinyarare, I think last year. Al Jazeera did a documentary called The Gold Mafia, mostly around Zimbabwe, also including places like Dubai, and then including some of the banks and mining bosses in South Africa. This is the first thing I want to say. This idea of a black market sounds ominous. Oh, there's this black market and these guys meet each other in corners. Nah. Many times what you call a black market just means that it's not being sold through formal channels. It's similar to what they call illegal or illicit cigarettes. It just means they didn't go normally through customs and they didn't pay the right excise duties, the right import duties or tariffs, if you were. That's all. They could have actually even gone through the right channels, but someone was bribed so that they don't pay the taxes and the cigarettes come into a certain country. That's what black market means. These Zama Zama guys have bosses that they supply with gold, maybe it could be diamonds or whatever other minerals. These bosses, I can tell you now, are not sending money in ships. They're selling this produce, these commodities to big mining bosses. This is a theory, of course. I don't have proof. That this is my theory because I'm just using basic logic. These guys collect stuff from Zama Zamas. They pay these guys wages, 20,000 Rand every 2 weeks or however much they bring. They take this produce, they collect it. And these could be guys that were working in the mines. Those could be big mining bosses themselves who double up as bosses for Zama Zamas. These Zama Zamas bring, and then these guys then go and add these commodities to the rest of the commodities mined, and then they sell them to the open market if they're not beneficiating or refining them in some way. Now, why would they do that? Why would they not just mine? Why do we have 6,000 abandoned mines? That doesn't make sense. Are these mines, are there no more commodities there? I don't understand, number one. Number two, why have those mines not been closed? These mining companies don't get held to account. Once they've absolutely decimated and destroyed the natural environment, to close these mining shafts, they don't rehabilitate those spaces. They don't. And there seems to be no compliance and regulation around that. Or Gwede Mantashe, who's the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, they're just there to crack jokes whenever you speak about these things, including the backlog of mining licenses that have not been sent out. The ANC government, still Ramaphosa being referenced as well. These guys are heavily invested in mining. Sometimes they're involved in some of these things, so they turn a blind eye where it makes sense. They're not rehabilitated. But this is more important. Most of these abandoned mines are not abandoned because the commodities are finished. No. It's because they've figured out that they maybe are not as profitable to run anymore. So you could find that certain mines have got $20 million in value down there. But the cost to mine them might be $15 million. And to some of these big mines, they're like, we're not going to spend $15 million to make a profit of $5 million. It's not worth it. But these other guys, these Zama Zamas, they're willing to go down there, number one. Number two, this $15 million that is expensive because of things like human resources, compliance, regulation, trade unions, making sure that you're paying fair wages, etc. That becomes a huge headache for anyone running an operation. Similar could be health regulations in the food industry, where some people, when they run quota businesses, when they sell mrojo, mukhodu, etc., they don't need to worry about those things. A similar thing happens with mining, because mining is very dangerous. People die there. There's the environment, there's gases, there's contamination of waters and things. So these mining bosses are like, we're not going to spend all of that money just to make $5 million, but we can pay the Zama Zamas not $15 million. In total, we'll end up paying them maybe $8 million. $8 million to go and fetch that stuff that we'll sell for $20 million. Now we make so much more, and we don't have to worry about the regulation. We don't have to worry about labor laws and paying these guys fair price. That becomes a win. That becomes a huge win. And I'm going to touch on Spaza shops, but Spaza shops, there's people that say that some of the Spaza shops make their own products. They don't follow standards. They make them in back rooms, etc. There have been videos of guys manufacturing Coke, manufacturing Grandpa, etc., etc. That's one part, definitely. A lot of the other stuff these guys sell, expired goods, or whatever goods, those goods don't come from thin air. They come from the wholesalers. They come from the manufacturers. They might even come from the retailers that you love. Where does Pick n Pay, Woolies, Spar, ShopRite, where do they take their food that is expired on the shelf? Where do you think they take it? They throw it away? Oh, sure, great. Maybe they throw it. Where do they throw it away? Show us. Do they destroy it? Do they burn it? The breads and the flour and the wheat and the maize meal, maybe the polonies. Where do they burn these things so that we know? Sometimes it could happen that they take some of this produce and they give it to maybe pig farmers to say, hey, please go and feed your pigs, especially expired milk, amasi, yogurt. It's got a lot of whey, and whey is very good for fattening pigs. So then it's like, no, give this to the pig farmers. But some of it, especially just before it expires, they might either through the big guys at the top in these stores, or the guys that are involved in the trucking, the logistics of these expired or to be expiring goods, they have their people. And they're like, I'm going to fetch stock, do you want? And the guys who run those puzzle shops are like, we'll take it. The people buy it. It's expiring in a day, it's fine. The people buy anything that is expired a day or 2 days, they'll be okay. That's what happens. And a similar thing happens here with the mining and the Zama Zamas, which send these guys in. We've got guys from Lesotho, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi. Why do we have them? It's because we don't have borders. This thing that we keep raising as if we're fucking crazy is designed. They speak about bribing, the Zama Zama bosses. But some of the bribing starts all the way at the borders. Home affairs, some of these guys might have papers that were received fraudulently. You think of Chidima's mom. Some of these guys jump. Some of them have visited my mate Usia in Sterkspruit. Sterkspruit is on the border of Lesotho, the Free State, and the Eastern Cape. He shows me with his finger, that's Lesotho. I'm like, no ways. He's like, there, that's Lesotho. I'm like, but where's the border? It's like, there's no border here. Guys, just walk. If we walk, we can walk. He's like, let's walk now. Once we cross there, we're in Lesotho. And you're like, okay. This is what we're talking about. Then you'll see, and I know AfriForum did a documentary on this, you'll see parts of where there's meant to be fencing. There's no fence, or it's been destroyed. And people just walk in and out. There's even markets at the borders, or these spaces where people cross rivers, where people are selling energy drinks, where people are selling food. You know, it's a business. The government is fully aware. They're not aware. Cyril is aware. Before him, people like Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema, they were all aware of these things. Not that they didn't know. The police are aware. Sometimes they get bribed. Sometimes they turn a blind eye. Sometimes they get shot, killed, if they try to be heroes. Big business people are aware. How do big business people know? They know because they hire illegal foreigners. The people that own the restaurants, the people that own the hotels, the people that run maybe certain construction businesses, the people that run various services, manufacturing, even farmers. Still, Ramaphosa with Palapal, it came out that there were Namibians working there. Farming at that level is not a scarce skill. So I know for a fact that Ramaphosa did not get some type of permit for those people to be there. Your favorite politicians, your favorite business people, even now, Checkers 60 spoke about how, think about 70 to 80% of their drivers are foreigners. And we can only guess that they're illegal foreigners because they can't be legal. Legal foreigners need to get a work permit to be here. To get a work permit, you must have a company that's hired you, or you must have a scarce skill and you must have applied. To be driving a scooter for Checkers 60 is not a scarce skill. So if you're a foreigner driving a scooter or driving an Uber or being a car guard, it's a fact that you got here illegally. And if you have papers, it's a fact that you bought those papers. It's not rocket science. These guys know these things. So we've got the Zama Zamas. That's the one part I want to speak about, that I believe that big mining businesses are intrinsically involved in the Zama Zama industry. I believe that politicians, the police, home affairs, other people are intrinsically involved in the Zama Zamas, and especially in having illegal, undocumented foreigners here. To build the mines and Joburg, Gauteng, to build South Africa into what it is today. People from Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, Lesotho, Eswatini all worked. That's why when you go to places like Soweto, there are people from everywhere. They were coming to mine. They, along with South Africans, were being exploited by the big mining bosses. Now, this is the number one reason why I'm making this video. I tweeted, I'm not going to read my tweet now. I tweeted this morning that Zama Zamas, I tweeted the colonizers of the past were Zama Zamas when they came to Africa back in the day. That's very important to understand. If you ever do a history, and the Gold Mafia documentary by Al Jazeera had me going to do research and sitting with Tusiabulela Ngang and speaking about mining and Zama Zama, speaking to Rutendo Matinyarare and the Gold Mafia documentary. These were the conversations. When you look at the gold rush in America and California, you look at the gold rush in Johannesburg, you look at the diamond rush in Kimberley. These were immigrants, foreigners. They didn't have work permits. They didn't get visas. They weren't these clean guys from England or wherever the fuck they came from. These were immigrants, dirty white guys from Europe and other parts of the world, by the way, who came to South Africa because there was opportunity here up for grabs. They came here along with black South Africans, and they were mining in Kimberley, in Johannesburg, in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo, in the Northwest, and other spaces. They came here to try their luck, to Zama Zama. Now, when the Oppenheimers came, funded by the Rothschilds, when Cecil John Rhodes came as well, when Barney Bonato became a big landlord, because they became landlords, these guys then formalized. They formalized the mining industry. Now, whenever industries are formalized, you must get excited. Oh, now people are going to be safe. There's going to be safety and security. There's going to be fair wage or some kind. The trade unions can come in. Everything's going to be transparent. You know, all these beautiful things. But the other thing that happens when you formalize an industry is that you start excluding other people. You start excluding other people. The minibus taxi industry in South Africa was built because the white apartheid government shafted black people off their land and put them and relegated them into townships. Not squatter camps, townships that were engineered. From those townships to get to suburbia to work for Mlungu, for Bas, for the white man, you needed to walk. And outside of walking, the government built trains. So you'd catch a train. Now the train would take a while, they'd fill up. Some people saw an opportunity and they set up this business, this industry, the taxi industry of minibus taxis, which today is a huge multi-billion rand industry, the minibus taxi. Today, those guys fight over routes. They kill each other as well. They are known as the taxi mafia because of laws shafting, excluding people from a mainstream economy, relegating to just workers. Stokvels, another good example. Black people kept out of the mainstream economy, couldn't open bank accounts, etc., etc. They decided, let's open stokvels. Stokvels today collect over 50 billion rand a year. There's thousands, tens of thousands of members, or hundreds of thousands, if not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are members of stokvels because black people were excluded. Spaza shops, hey, another favorite one. We're speaking about spaza shops now. We're speaking about kids being poisoned. We're speaking about expired foods. We're speaking about illegal foreigners. I'm sure you're picking up a theme here, right? We're speaking about immigrants that came from other countries, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Somalia, Ethiopia, etc., coming for a gold rush, but this time not mining, but retail, to come and sell and set up spaza shops, where black people had set up spaza shops because they couldn't open these fancy supermarkets. They didn't have the regulation, they didn't have the money, they didn't have all these things. So they set up spaza shops. Today the immigrants have come in and they are the Zama Zamas of retail. So they're there now and someone is trying to wash them out. Someone. Hey, who is that someone? Could it be the someone that is also supplying them? Maybe. If we were to find out, I think Mighty Jamie did a video where he was speaking about the industry and some of the details around it. I think it's over 200 billion rand a year industry, the informal retail market, informal. You know that if spaza shops are shut down, you know that even if black people can't open spaza shops, you know that if spaza shops need to be regulated, because that's the call now, regulated, some people are going to get washed out, forced out of the country. But who will benefit? Will it be black South Africans? That would be nice. But could it be that businesses like USave will spring up? They've already piloted the container spaza shop type. Could USave benefit? Pick n Pay has tried to experiment with QualiSave, didn't really work. But maybe if they try QualiSave in containers in townships, regulated, formalized, they meet all the requirements, and. ShopRite, I've spoken about USave, Spar, especially with their 2U delivery service. I don't know about Woolies because it's a bit upmarket, etc. Could it be that some of these more formalized guys are like, there's 200 billion up for grabs and these fuckers are coming to take our lunch? So no, let's shut them down. All these things, they are poisoning, they're not regulated. Where are they getting these foods from? Who's supplying them? And if we get rid of these guys by so-called regulation, who's going to come in and make money? So again, you exclude people, it opens up avenues for others. The colonizers came here to come make money through the mining in various ways, and then they built other industries. Today, they beat their chests and they make a lot of noise. Oh, these people are illegal. South Africans must vote for them to leave, but that's Zama Zamas. It's so dangerous. The colonizers came here, filthy as they were. If you ever watch, there's a movie. Sorry, I want you to watch this movie because it gives a glimpse of how this operates. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. It's got Robert De Niro, I know. Robert De Niro movie. The movie is called Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon, of how white colonial entities get into spaces of indigenous people and the atrocities they commit with those people, part of them being raping, sleeping with the women so that they can get rights to land. hoodwinking these people, getting them sick. And that happened in South Africa. People were raped. There could have been some mutual love, but we've got an entire colored population of which are evidence of rape, the rape of black people by white people. They murdered people en masse. It's documented. It's known. Any white person who comes to defend that is a racist, is a white supremacist, is a fucking liar, and is defending the indefensible. They exploited black labor. They weren't paying fair wage. They were paying Zama Zama wages, if not even worse, at that time. Similar to what's happening now. At the time. They came and they built all this, and they created these laws. The Oppenheimers and then Cecil John Rhodes, even Barney Bernardo, these were all politicians. And they set up these laws to exclude other people and to make sure that people cannot compete. And then later on, the ANC would come in, and then they'd get all these benefits. And if you read if you read the history of this country economically, one of the big companies that became this mafia that consolidated power in mining is Anglo-American, and some of its subsidiaries would split and become other mines would come up. Of course, you'd get De Beers, of course, the Oppenheimers. You'd get the names are escaping me. Shit. But anyways, I just remember the names of the people: your Barney Bernardo, your Cullinan, Cecil John Rhodes, and the like. But they build these business. But Anglo-American, when the British started losing some power to the Afrikaners, would start having Afrikaans people now mining, of which Afrikaners, by the way, would be the supervisors, the bosses in the mines, because they were also dirty. The British were clean. They'd done their dirt. They were rich. So they'd call the dam, boer, farmer, Afrikaner to come and supervise these blacks because they're close to the dirt. And that's why you'd find even the term ubas, even on farms, it's usual that it's the Afrikaner person being the supervisor, being that close to the black, more than the distinguished, clean English folk. And then the Afrikaners would come in and be uplifted. When the ANC comes in, a new class now, and there's a cover of one of these business magazines where Cyril Ramaphosa is standing there, and the question is the new landlords. Because what BEE would be a vehicle for Patrice Motsepe, Cyril Ramaphosa, Mzi Khumalo, Lazarus Zim, Dr. Anna Mokhokong. There are so many other names. This black elite group that would now be brought in to this mafia of Anglo-American and be given these cuts. I mean, Patrice's cuts came from your Anglophile, from the Hersovs and the Manals, etc., who also came here to come and dig their coal. They were immigrants, like the Pakistanis, like the Bangladeshis, like the Chinese. They were also immigrants. They don't speak of it in filth like the illegal immigrants now. They speak of it with pride. Helen Zille's parents were immigrants. Saul Kirsner's parents were immigrants. They came here to come and make money, and they're rich today. They've built businesses, your Sun Cities, your Beverly Hills hotels, and they clean now. They've cleaned that filthy money. And they now lobby government and they fund political parties because they clean and they look at everyone else as dirt. When those people started where their grandparents, great-grandparents started. Same filth. If you give Zama Zamas 2-3 generations from now, trust, all the money they've made, they will buy beautiful homes. They will move into big neighborhoods. They will send their kids to top private schools. They'll start speaking a better grasp of English, like Cyril Ramaphosa and Naledi Pandor. And they'll start being like, no, we must regulate more. These guys are filthy, they're dirty. The same colonizers came and they were fucking butchering holes. Why do you think there's a big hole in Kimberley? Was that an accident? We speak about the holes now that the Zama Zamas are creating. What the fuck is the big hole in Kimberley? And what about all the big holes that big mining companies have left and not rehabilitated in these over 6,000 abandoned mines? But we can't have that conversation. And the mainstream media won't have that conversation. And various voices in alternative media won't have that conversation because this is actually the conversation. Now some are asking, oh, are you saying Zama Zamas are fine? No. No one said colonizers were fine. I'm trying to show the hypocrisy. And this is part of the conversation. If you come into a space and you build your wealth through filth, rape, murder, exploitation, extortion, bribery, etc., and you become rich, and you formalize that space and you clean it up, and you set up laws and you set up political leaders. And then you exclude everyone else. The people have kind of accepted, they're like, okay, just give us jobs in your mines. Just give us jobs in your shops. Just give us jobs in your businesses. You're like, no, there's no jobs. Unemployment. And then those same people handpick a few of you guys, Animal Farm and the pigs, a few of you guys, and they uplift them and they bring them to the top. And they become the buffer. It was the Afrikaners before. Now the black ANC government becomes the buffer. These police and the soldiers that are sending, those are black people. The police and the soldiers they send to Marikana, mine, under London Mining, Lonman, under Cyril Ramaphosa's guidance. Those were black people there that were being a buffer to other black people that were complaining. People that were marching for 12,000 Rand salary. Zama Zamas are making 20,000 Rand in 2 weeks. You're making 12,000 Rand a month. These guys make more than 20,000 Rand a week. You heard some of the bosses make 20 million a month. Some of the guys make $1 million in a couple of months. You're marching for 12,000, a fair wage, please. And these new black elite they've brought in are sending soldiers and cops to go gun you down. 44 miners killed. What do you expect those people to do? What must the people of Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, what must they do because they've been excluded? You tell me, what must South Africans do? I was mining, I was doing the right thing, I was showing up at work, I was respecting my boss, I was respecting my pay, I've been retrenched. Sibanye Stillwater, African Rainbow Minerals, Anglo-American, Anglo-Ashanti, Glencore, Lonman, Tsipi, all these mines here. What must that person do? No, he must make a plan. What must he do? You tell me. He's got knowledge of mining. He's very valuable. You've retrenched him. If you're not retrenching him, you're underpaying him. What must the guy do? He's going to do what he needs to do to get by, to uplift his family. He also wants to live well. He also wants to be like Patrice, like Cyril. He also wants to send his kids to top schools. He also wants to drive a nice car. But you've blocked him. You've blocked him from the activities that your forefathers committed back in the day. You've blocked that guy. So what do you think is going to fucking happen? That's what we're dealing with. And no one is going to have this conversation because it's not a nice conversation to have. Yeah, but I mean the laws now. Yes, there are criminals now. But we're protecting the criminals from then because we haven't gotten economic transformation. We haven't shared the wealth. That's where we are now. I sat with Rutendo Matinyarara, and one of the things we spoke about was this term called artisanal mining. I spoke about Zama Zamas they paid, and Rutendo was like, you must legalize it. I'm like, what do you mean legalize it? It's like, no. In Zimbabwe, we've legalized your Zama Zamas. It's called artisanal mining. What's artisanal mining? Artisanal mining versus the big mines is this. Easy analogy. You've got Pick and Pay, Checkers, ShopRite, Woolies, Spar, Cambridge, Boxer, whatever you want to call it. You've got that. That's a big mine. There's obviously bigger mines, your wholesalers, your Jumbo, your Macro, etc. And then obviously you've got your Pioneer Foods, your Tiger Brands, all these manufacturers, etc. But let's speak just like a Pick and Pay and a Checkers. That's a big mine. It's formalized. There's security, there's cleaners, there's hygiene, there's staff. They get UIF, they get pension, they pay their taxes, all these beautiful things. They pay rent. That's a big mine. What is an artisanal miner? An artisanal miner is a spaza shop. It's a person through their garage, through their one room that they've built, through a container, sets up a little operation. They go and they stock bread, they stock knickknacks, they stock cool drink, cigarettes, tinned foods, etc., sweets. And they sit there and they sell. They are not Pick and Pay. They don't have cashiers. They don't have managers. They don't have an accounting department. They don't have a marketing team. They don't have security. They don't have all these things. It's just a one-man vibe. And that person will make 20,000, 50,000 Rand a month. As opposed to the cashier who's making 5,000, 8,000 Rand a month. That's the difference. So Rutendo was like, you guys must legalize this thing. And we quickly realized why. the big minds do not want the government, your Gwede Mantashe, your ANC with Double Cyril Ramaphosa, they don't want them to legalize artisanal mining. Because then these small little spaza shop miners, they're going to get regulated. It's going to be like, oh, okay, I've got my little certificate. I know what safety to look out for. I'm not going to mine. I've got my little portion, just like this is my little spaza shop. This is my little taxi route. I've got my, everyone knows this is where I mine. It's me. Penal mines here, maybe with his kids. When I'm not around, my Unkunzi, Ushaga, Luna, they mine there. And then maybe my daughters are the ones that take the produce. They take it to a place where you can then sell these things at a price, and we come home and make money. Rotendo was telling me about the number of dollar millionaires that have been made in Zimbabwe. It's like those are the things the Gold Mafia documentary won't tell you, that these artisanal miners are feeding their families. They're building homes because we've legalized it. We've got a place where they can sell. We know who they are. We register them. They have a database. They have like a registration number, and they go work and we can track them. And we train them and we upskill them so that they can be involved in the economy of the country. Rich people in South Africa, rich foreigners operate in South Africa, the Australian mines. There's about Rio Tinto, there's about BHP, Bulletin, etc. Those guys that are here, they don't want ordinary South Africans to play in that space. They don't. Even this idea that spaza shop owners are making their own foods should be something that is celebrated as innovation. It is wrong that it's counterfeit. This is how China built their economy. It's wrong. You don't just make some concoction and put a Coca-Cola sticker. That's a Hong Kong. And then you sell it. And if people get sick, now we're shouting at Coca-Cola. But if you can make your own brand, your own little more fire, your own little bar to drip, do it. That's innovation. Yeah, but it's not SABS approved. It's not. Those are the regulations and the compliance that are keeping people out. Sidli chicken dust, sidli nyama yenhloko, sidla makota. All these things are not regulated. They're not SABS approved. There's no hygiene standards. There's no all these things, but we enjoy them. We trust them. And if you've had it 100 times, you're like, I trust it, and other people trust it. So why not give other people a fair chance to do the same? The spaza shops that are being spoken about now, including the fact that they supposedly fund terrorism. Go run a spaza shop and see how much money is made there. Go look at how these guys live. And then you realize there's an agenda here. People have been buying from Oh My Friend for years. For years. Why all of a Sunday? Why all of a Sunday? Now, but I've been buying from spaza shops for years. I'm not vomiting. I don't have cancer. I'm not sick. I've bought from spaza shops in squatter camps. I've bought from spaza shops in townships. I've bought from uppity spaza shops even in suburbia. In the area where I live in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg, around Emmarentia, the Johannesburg Botanical Gardens, there are some little shops there that are owned by these Pakistani type guys. In Greenside as well, close to my Kasi there. I've never gotten sick. I buy the stuff. I obviously check the date and. All of a sudden now, people are getting sick and poisoned. Now we must shut down the whole vibe. No one was shut down for listeriosis. With about escort and all these guys. No one gets shut down when there's salmonella chicken poisoning from a KFC. People are always vomiting and sick from eating KFC that's pink, that's got blood. People get sick from eating McDonald's. No one has ever said, let's shut down this whole vibe. People take drugs, pharmaceuticals, regulated, etc. They get sick. There's side effects, depression, suicidal, you're infertile, etc. No one has said, shut this whole fucking thing down. But let's shut these guys down. Who's asking you to shut them down? Who's asking you to shut them down? And if you shut them down, who will benefit? The conversation we need to be having, the real conversation is, why are we not allowed to engage in the mainstream economy in 2024? Why are black children not being sent to school in grade 1 to learn how to run a spaza shop, to manage the finances, to get stock, to make sure that they follow health and that their customers are good, so that the child leaves grade 8, grade 9, grade 12, opens a spaza shop and can feed themselves. A child goes to grade 1 and they learn how to become an artisanal miner. In one of the documentaries, they speak about some of these Zama Zamas are aged between 12 and 16. Teach a child to be an artisanal miner so that by the time they're 16, 18, they understand health regulations. They know where to sell the gold or the whatever commodities. They know what's a fair price. They know exchange rates. They know how to take care of themselves. And the child leaves at 18, the school, and they go and they become artisanal miners, and they make 20,000, 50,000 Rand a month for their families. Children learn from grade 1 how to make medicine, whether it's organic medicine. You can go to places like Faraday, Nkunze Mnyama, Umuti. Organic medicine, herbs, learning that from a young age. This is eucalyptus, this is ginger, this is apple cider vinegar, these are the concoctions, this is umhlonyane, this is whatever the case may be. Lokhu siyahlafuna, lokhu siphalaza ngakho, lokhu siyachatha ngakho, lokhu siyagquma ngakho. Na impepho isiza ngalokho, insango yona mawuyiphuza noma mawuyibhema isiza ngalokho mawune asthma. Learn these things and then take them to Western modern medicine. And these kids learn the different compounds, the powders, the syrups, so that by the time the child is 16, 18, they can open their little Spaza shop pharmacy where they sell traditional herbs, where they sell wellness products, where they sell Western medicine. Why are we being kept out of the formal economy? Where young kids go to grade 1 and they learn how the banking industry got set up. The term bank comes from bank, which is a bench. The bench is where the guys would sit at the ports, at the harbors, and then the traders that come off the ships would come to these guys to borrow money, to loan money, to exchange money, foreign currency. In South Africa, some of our mashonisas still sit outside banks on chairs for people that couldn't get a loan at the bank to be like, this is how I'll give you money. Show me your decline letter. What can you give me? A bench. That's the history. And then it would get formalized by the 5 Rothschild boys. The fathers sent them out. They formalized banking. Today, you need in South Africa over 260 million Rand to set up a bank. 260 million. I was a Mashonisa, Baba. I started Shonisaring with 1,000 Rand. 1,000 Rand. I became my own bank. WhatsApp, sending money, collecting money, making interest, giving people money so that they can go and run a business, giving people money so that they can go get stock, giving people money so that they can fulfill their tender. Now there's something called purchase order financing. Why are we not teaching kids in school to say, this is how you set up a stokvel, this is the history of banking, this is what interest is, simple interest, compound interest, this is how you vet your clients, this is called risk mitigation, this is how you verify, this is a credit profile, this is how you can build your own credit profile with your clients with this little book, and then this is how you make money. By the time the child is 12, by the time the child is 16, 18, the child is like, oh, I run my little Spaza shop bank. People borrow money from me. I've funded all these businesses with my little stokvel. Why are we being kept out of the mainstream economy? Why is our schooling system not upskilling young children on how to play in the business world from a small scale? Grameen Bank, Professor Mohammed Yunus. Why not? It's because it serves certain agendas. The big guys that fund the ANC, that fund the DA, that fund the EFF, that fund the Freedom Front Plus, that fund whoever you can think of that you like. They funded by these same big guys. And what we call democracy is just handpicked political leaders by the rich to say, you will need. I think Sizwe Mpofu Walsh did this exercise. I said to Sisumandi Samashiho, we spoke about the same thing, that the amount of money you need just to get to the start line of the political race. I spoke to Tutuzane Zuma about it. I spoke to Mpota Kada. Tutuzane Zuma of All Game Changers, Mpota Kada of Arise SA. The cost of registration for national, for provincial. Then you have to go and get signatures, which come at a cost. Then you have to go and make posters. Then you have to do this. Then you have to set up branches. It's designed to exclude. Then the next clowns, AfriForum, don't do all of that. They speak to the Afrikaans people. They say, we will try and fight for you. We will build a Spaza shop for Afrikaans people and either minority groups. All you have to put in here is 100 Rand a month. And Afrikaners and other people that understood put in 100 Rand a month. And today, 350,000 members at 150 Rand per person. You can do the maths. It's tens of millions per month. They said, no, we're going to do things differently. We're going to start a little stokvel organization and movement. Why are we keeping children, black children, colored children especially? And then we can add the Indian and white children. Indian Muslim kids are learning business every day in their parents' businesses. White Jewish kids are learning about business every day from their parents. Black and colored kids are kept as far away from business as possible. And if ever blacks and colors try to get in, it's called child labor. Can't do that. The child must go play. Your child must go become a DJ or a soccer player or a celebrity or a politician. They mustn't be in business. And then they handpick the business people they want to work with. And these black people they work with make sure that they retain the status quo and they keep everyone else out. That's the story of Zama Zama. It's not to say we glorify Zama Zama, what they're doing is right. And especially, I need to condemn the fact that some of them rape, some of them kill, some of them steal. That's wrong. I'm speaking about this idea of why can these Africans, these are Africans, why can Africans not mine in Africa? Why is it called illegal for an African to dig a hole and go find commodities in Africa and go sell them? Why is that illegal? Who decided that? The wealthiest man of all time was an African, Mansa Musa. He was a gold baron. We had the empire of Mapungubwe here in southern Africa. Then colonizers came, they split the countries. Today I'm like, I don't want Zimbabweans here, of which those were Rhodesians, because I'm a South African, because of these borders. Today we hate each other. They must go. But the people who are telling us to get them to go are colonizers and colonial systems. Why are Africans in Africa not allowed to mine their own resources to sell them to make money? Why not? And if the issue is safety regulations, then why not skill them? If they don't know what to do, if they're destroying what, oh no, then just skill them, help them. It's not a big deal. The Spaza shops are selling expired food. Okay, host workshops. Guys, please look at your foods when they expire. This happens. Then they'll say, yeah, but you know, we make a lot of money from the expired foods. Okay, how can we mitigate that? Should we give you a grant? Can we take these expired foods and sell them to pig farmers? Or can we dispose of them in some other way so that at least your consumers are happy? Because the last thing you want as a Pakistani Spaza shop owner is to make your customer sick or to kill your customer. That means you can't enjoy this person's money anymore, number one. Number two, it means there's going to be a bad story now that's going to go around the community that, oh, my friend, they got us sick or killed one of our kids. Don't ever buy from him again. There is no one in their fucking right mind that is trying to do that. There is no my friend in South Africa that is intentionally trying to poison people in Makas. That's a lie. I've been buying from these places for years. I know some of these guys personally. Someone's lying to you. Someone's spreading an agenda. When we speak about Zama Zamas, when we speak about Spaza shops, when we speak about the taxi industry, when we speak about organic herbal remedies, is inyanga. When we speak about the guys that do scrap metal, we need to have informed conversations and in-depth conversations about exactly what's going on, who is benefiting, who's losing. And when we try and fix these problems, can we fix them for the benefit of people? Oh, this includes drugs, by the way, the drug industry. When we fix these things, let's have a real conversation about what's going on. Yeah. Sorry, I wrote a few notes here. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of them. I wanted to speak about the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Sudan, and some of these places, because wherever you find minerals, there will be conflict. There will be blood. If you've ever watched that Daniel Day-Lewis movie, brilliant. There will be blood. Lord of War, Nicolas Cage. If you want to get an understanding of these things and how they operate, Lord of War, Nicolas Cage, there will be blood, Daniel Day-Lewis. Killers of the Flower Moon, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro. If you guys know other movies similar, I know maybe I've forgotten some of them, write them down. People need to understand how these things work. It's not as straightforward as the media funded by these same colonial beneficiaries who built their wealth off atrocities that will have you believe. And it's not what your politicians are telling you as well. Parting shot. Someone said in my tweet, it's similar to hunting. I grew up all my life knowing that my father was a poacher, that he was an illegal hunter. My father would go onto Iplas Lepunu, onto some white man's farm with his friends and greyhounds. I went hunting with him a few times, and he'd go catch rabbits and catch buck and bring it home and we'd eat it. I tell people my father's a poacher. I realized later that no, man, this is the land issue. My father grew up hunting. It was a sport. Something that guys love doing. It's hiking. You've got these fast greyhound dogs that can run and catch these buck. You're going back to primitive. You catch a buck, you take it home, we slaughter it, we have meat. Now, some white people decided this land is no longer yours, darky, kafir. Fuck off this land, go to your township and stay there. And if ever you come on this land, many times my father's dogs were shot and killed when they were found. Many times my father was arrested. Not for coming to steal the white man's tractor, not for coming to steal the white man's money, but on South African soil, in South African land, my father was taking his dogs to say, I'm going to get meat for my family and hunt. And you call that illegal hunting. When American tourists and European tourists come here and they shoot lions, they take photos, and you get taxidermists that take heads of kudus to put up in their fancy homes. My father was a criminal because he was on white people's land in Africa trying to get a buck. Excuse the pun, trying to get a buck, trying to get a rabbit so that we could eat. Something wrong there. There's something wrong, and we need to have educated conversations. And so-called clever blacks and sympathetic white people, if they are genuine about fixing these things, we need to have an in-depth conversation about how we fix these things moving forward, and not pick these things at surface level because of the dangers of mainstream media and funded people on alternative media as well. Have a great and blessed day. Penuel the Black Pen. Please take your comments that you feel are important here and go put them in the main comments, because I don't read comments here anymore. It takes up too much time, unfortunately. I love and appreciate you guys. Cheers.